It's an interesting question, isn't it? There's no doubt, after all of these years, you know the way of stories. And perhaps you've already recognized that the Zen stories, even though the Zen koans are to trip up the mind, the stories cut to the chase. There's no way that we can intellectualize the Zen stories. They have to be experienced at another level of understanding. So let's see what we can make of this particular Zen story. It's the story of a monk who every day, in his tattered robes and his shredded straw sandals, with his begging bowl that was scratched and worn from the years, would go into the city of Nagasaki. Now, even in those times, Nagasaki was a metropolis. It was a bustling place. Tea shops all over the place, traders selling their wares. And it was a thriving community. And every day this monk would go with his begging bowl to the traders, to the various tea shops. But whenever he was offered alms, he refused them. And the people would scratch their heads at this. But every day, day after day, he would come and make the rounds to the various places. And the same thing would happen every day. And one day, one of the patrons of a certain tea shop said to him, "Honorable monk, every day you come and refuse the alms that are given to you. Why is it that you don't go to a quieter place, a smaller township?" And the monk completely ignored the question and walked away. But the man was very curious, so he got up from his seat at the tea shop and he followed the monk, questioning him again. The monk got angry and turned around and shouted at him, "This is my way of transformation," and walked away, leaving the man scratching his head. But sometime later, 3 days passed when the monk was not sighted in the city. So the townspeople decided to look for him. And outside the city walls, they found the monk lying in fetal position, unmoving. But he wasn't dead. But the townspeople were very concerned that if he did die, that they would be blamed. So they tried to rouse him. But he would not be roused. His eyes remained closed, and he remained somewhat inert. But then, to their very great surprise, he took a knife and proceeded to disembowel himself, his innards flowing out onto the ground in front of their eyes. They could do nothing, but they took a prayer shawl and sealed up his body and buried it. several days later, a stray dog came along and dug up the shroud. Some of the townspeople noticed this and went over to see. But to their very great surprise, even though the prayer shawl was and did remain sealed, there was absolutely nothing inside. This is not a Zen koan to trip up the mind. This is a story, like most other Zen stories, that cut to the chase, disallow us from trying to mentate about its meaning, but need to understand it at a very deep level. What's its meaning for you? A tattered monk choosing to beg in a great city, bustling, but refusing the alms. My way of transformation. What does it mean to disembowel ourselves? What has it got to do with the townspeople? Transformation is obvious. The shroud was empty. What's the meaning of this story?
It's fascinating that you also